Well, I think the minute somebody says to you that they're doing it, well, particularly after Little Mermaid, when somebody says, you know, you're being asked to do a major character in a Disney animated feature film, you know that it's going to be something special. But I think, I don't know, perhaps I speak for everybody, but for me at least, the first performance before an audience in New York, it's the version, they call it the unfinished version, but it was awfully well polished to call it unfinished. And seeing how people reacted. I was able to bring my 6-year-old daughter to that, and seeing how she reacted to it, seeing how the press reacted to it. The press were sitting in the audience with the press,
yes.
And seeing how they reacted.
New York
with
critics
a very good sense that this was something special. I mean, we as you go along, it takes quite a long time to make one of these, over the process, you know, you hear the recordings, you see one another interact, you see bits and pieces as they're drawn, so you have a notion. But when it all came together for that first performance, I think that was the time I was really stricken by how monumental an effort this was, and how proud I was of the finished product.
We were all really nervous that night.
We were very nervous
Don
that
Hahn
night.
and Jeffrey Katzenberg, because we were in front of the New York critics, and we're New York actors.
We weren't in front of them. We were sitting next to them.
And you know, you was going in and out of storyboards, and then the actual, you know, drawings, but it was unfinished. But the music was all there and the dialogue. But wow, when they stood up for 10 minutes at the end and brought us on stage, I was like, okay, we went over the New York critics. This is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we knew then. I knew then too.
And seeing that my daughter actually went with,
and she's,
I mean, every moment. She's seen an awful lot of theater, and even at the age of 6, she had seen an awful lot of theater. And to see how this one took her was very, very satisfying.
it was cool.
I think the thing that was so remarkable about the New York Films critics, you know, that evening, was how brilliant Jeffrey Katzenberg is, in the sense that you could call it an unfinished piece of work, but really what it was a complete education of what it takes to make this movie. And by the end, it was awesome. Wow. And everyone went, oh my God, they draw these cells 24 frames per second. You know, I mean, this is an amazing achievement. And, you know, for someone like me, who, I guess, you know, I think of animation, I think of cartoons, and suddenly I'm looking at this as, this is not just a feature film. It's a feature film that's a musical that works. It's also a Broadway show. I mean, you're literally looking at the Broadway show, which I have to say, it's a no-brainer. I also have to say, Carla DeVito, my wife, one of the first things she ever said to Mr. Eisner was, you should make this into a Broadway show. And they did. And they haven't stopped. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think I realized how epic it really was just when it became, because I was still a child. So it was very much about, you know, everybody knew it. All of my friends were talking about it. Everybody that I had in my life knew that this movie was great. And I was, you know, people at my school were singing songs from the movie. And, you know, some of them knew that I was Chip and some of them didn't. But it was really awesome to see just how into it everybody was and how quickly that happened.
That's fantastic.
It was very cool.
I mean, I kind of already told you what my favorite part was, seeing it all together, but I mean, the thing that resonates with me is I do a lot of these conventions, and is you guys don't want to hear about it. Like, this room's filled. You guys want to hear about a film that we did 25 years ago. I mean, that's what pleases me, that our work lives this long. You know?
I
think the time that it became real to me was the Oscars, and that despite
That's just a little something.
yeah, despite I sort of the prejudice against animated films, it still managed to get nominated in a very small category, Best Picture. I meant when I don't mean small as in I mean there's only 5 nominees as opposed to
Small field.
yeah small
Films is the one.
right
Yep.
as opposed to in the last 10 years it's been opened up to 10 and all that, but we were the first and pretty much only animated film that got nominated, and that said a lot, especially since even during the Oscar ceremonies, there was this animosity towards the film and all that. It was just.
And then a year later, all the stars are doing the voices.
We were a threat. That was amazing to me. I mean, Billy Crystal was hosting it, and he was just like, movies without acters, blah blah. All I kept thinking was, when Monsters came out, how's that working for you, Billy? Yeah, are you an actor? Are you an actor now? So yeah, that was quite. Just a little note. I have heard that we were 80 votes away from winning.
Wow. That family film, Signs of the Lambs one.
So that was close.
Hillary. Sorry.